Hello and welcome to another episode of Workplace Wizards podcast. This is episode number 21, the dynamics in EI, the dynamics in emotional intelligence. And I'm your host, Arnold Smalley, also known as Arnell, and I'm the CEO for Small World Solutions. And today we have our infamous guest, or he would like to say the famous guest, Gavin Wong. How we
Hi
doing,
there.
Gavin?
I'm good, my friend. I'm Gavin, also known as Gavin.
Anyways, uh, Gavin, today we're talking about the dynamics in EI, the dynamics in emotional intelligence.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
reason why we want to bring that up, just the other day I heard a stat, and the stat was that uh, leaders with high emotional intelligence on average make about $29,000 more than those leaders without the emotional intelligence, without high emotional intelligence. Everybody has emotional intelligence,
Yes,
but
yes.
highest level of emotional intelligence usually brings in a higher income. And what do you say about that?
I think that's a that's a really interesting fact, and I guess in the work that we do, we can probably see that and understand why that might be. I mean, I'm doing some work at the moment, developing a training program for senior leaders, and I think about emotional intelligence is quite key because the more successful the senior leaders are, I would agree with that stat that the people with more emotional intelligence will be the more successful people. You can see that when you're training people. Actually, the people who understand themselves and can reflect. And I think that's really important because they can then work with their teams in a much more effective way, and get the best out of their teams. Because they can't, particularly when they're more senior, they can't do this on their own. If they don't know how to work with their colleagues and the people that they're managing or leading, they won't get their best results. So that I think that's an amazing stat, actually.
Okay. Well, we know that some of the impact that emotional intelligence has on your leaders
Mm.
is it increases that collaboration. So leaders know how to get more out of their coworkers and other leaders, how they can work better together with other leaders, and it gives like a psychological safety net as well. Because now
Yes.
you're the more emotional intelligence, the more self-aware you are of your emotions and your social awareness of how you are responding to other people's emotions. It gives that safety net where people feel valued, people feel included and comfortable to share and actually collaborate and working better together.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's brilliant. One of the things I really try and push with our delegates is that importance of a psychological safe environment. You talk about a safety net. That is so key. But if you don't have emotional intelligence to understand the impact of what you do on other people and how people might be feeling and what drives them, you're not going to create that environment. And that environment is so important. I saw it in very simple terms, actually. Someone describes basically if you feel safe, then you expel less energy on having to worry about danger and all that kind of stuff. And that's really important because if you feel safe, and the thing for me about safety is that you're not afraid to make mistakes, okay, because fear of
Okay.
punishment.
Right.
If you fear punishment and you fear that kind of outcome, then you won't try things, you won't try new things, you won't be innovative, okay, you won't push yourself out of your comfort zone, okay. But actually, for teams to work really well, you want people to stretch themselves, push themselves a little bit more, try different things, be innovative, but don't worry about making mistakes. Okay, as long as they're not huge mistakes, but don't worry
Like
about it
like
because
when
if you've
you
got your
tried to say
backing,
like when you tried to say innovative.
innovative, it's a cultural issue here. It's a cultural issue,
Is,
but
is that is that what it is?
innovation. But innovation is really important. But you need that environment where you think that you can make those mistakes. So that safety net that you talk about, I think, is
Mhm.
really, really key. Because otherwise, if people are just worried about outcomes, people are afraid to get it wrong, and therefore, and as we know, that that might be contrary to people's disc profiles, all sorts of things. So yeah, having that safe environment, but you can't create that environment unless you understand yourself and understand how
Right.
you're perceived to other people. And that's a key about,
Well,
I think,
well,
about the emotional intelligence stuff.
exactly what you just said. The major benefit of high emotional intelligence is that fact that you have that higher self-management,
Hmm.
meaning that you understand what you're doing and how it affects so many others in
Yes.
your workplace
Yes.
environment. So the things that you do, because a lot of times, you'll find that people try to do that one way for everyone, and it
Yes.
doesn't work.
Yes.
So when you have that self-awareness to say, hey, this is affecting this person a little bit differently than the positive outcome I got from this person.
Hmm.
And once you can recognize that and make adjustments, then your
Hmm.
connection with others improves, because you
Yeah.
understand. And that's where our next step comes in with learning DISC, because
Mm.
now you find out, hey, with learning DISC, learning the human behavior styles,
Yeah.
the EI and DISC together, oh my
Hmm.
God, now it makes you a wonder person in your work environment, Wonder Man or Wonder Woman or whatever you want to call it.
Mm.
It makes you a wonderful person in your work environment, because now you understand. You first have to recognize that how the
Hmm.
person's reacting. That's your emotional
Hmm.
intelligence. But
Hmm.
then how do you deal with it? And that's your DISC. How do
Yes.
you talk to this person in their language?
In their language, yeah, and that's really key, because people are motivated by different things, and I think, I mean, how have you ever had people that, I find it quite interesting, you got we're talking quite senior people who do okay, they do okay in life, but we want people to be better, don't we? And but you get this person, senior leader, manages loads of people, and they just want things done in their way, and they don't really care about what people think, they don't care how people feel, and they're not bad people. Things though, they're not bad people.
Right.
When you talk to them, they're nice people. Okay, and you think, well, why? How can you talk to me, but you don't do that when you're managing your team? And that, and we've often called people like that, oh, they're just very thick-skinned. They like what they like, and they just carry on doing it. But actually, what they need to do, we need to get them to be more aware of how they are and how that affects other people. And this is what I think is missing for a lot of people with thick skin. They don't really, sometimes don't care, but often just don't realize that what they're doing is affecting people in a certain way. And then you get a counterintuitive outcome, because how they want them to deal with things, they don't do it. Okay. But they don't realize it.
Right.
And they
Right.
have the perception of why they're not doing it, but they've just got no awareness of anything. They just carry on doing the same thing.
Gavin, you brought in the trifecta. You brought in the EI, which is your emotional intelligence. You brought in the DISC, which is our human behavior styles. And then that last part where you said, talking about the way the communications, when they're saying something,
Mm.
and the perception, the intent and the perception are not matching. So
Yes,
they,
that's
like
right.
you're saying, the person's not a bad person, but
Hmm.
their intent is one thing, but how it's perceived by others is that
Yes.
critical communication piece. So
Yes.
sometimes it's not what we say, but how we say it.
Yeah.
And that brings in that critical communications piece. And that's where Small World Solutions can help your organization. And EI, learning self awareness, your social awareness, your empathy, and your impact on others, and your social skills, along with human behavior styles, which is our DISC format, and learning how to speak in their language. But not only that, with the critical communications piece that allows you to have to make sure that your intent is
Mm.
the way it's being perceived. So with that, Gavin, do you have anything additional to add to that?
No, I think
I
that's
know I
great. I
backed
think
us
you've
out
just
of the
done it.
screen, so you took your glasses off. So I'm wondering if you can even see us now.
Yes. You're
You
larger than life, Small. You're
rub
larger
those
than
eyes.
life. Listen, you're larger than life. I'll always be able to see you. It's not a problem. But no, I haven't got anything about that. I love that. That three-prong approach to everything is brilliant. And actually, because actually you need all three. You need that self-awareness. You need to understand how people will behave, but you need the skills to be able to say the right things to get it across as well. Because you
Right.
could do the first two and have no impact because you can't actually get those words out in the right way. So no, good.
Uh,
Like it.
Yeah, having that clarity and the way you speak, and that also brings in the safety organization as well, because when people understand and you're clearly spoken, then that also gives that realm of safety net as well. All right. So with that being said, that concludes our episode for Workplace Wizards podcast number 21, the dynamics of emotional intelligence. We want to thank you for joining us today in our podcast. And if you'd like to contact us, please email at asmalley@smallworldsolutions.net, or you can give us a phone call at 751-971-7007. And Gavin loves that 007 because he thinks he's a special agent or something. But anyways, we're going to say bye for now and look forward to seeing you guys next week. So make sure you leave comments and give us some insight on what to talk about next. We'd love to have your feedback. Thank you very much for joining us. Bye.
Take care.